first page.
The welcome, and I want to read the trigger statement. The contents discussed at this meeting may be sensitive to some attendees. If triggered, take a break. We will ask another person to take the break with you and ask if you are okay. And I think Nancy had volunteered to follow that. Thank you.
Gordon, do you want to use the mic?
That'll give me, I think, you can get me, right? Well, we'll just go with it.
So no on the mic?
No on the mic.
Okay.
The guidelines that I printed in the last thing are here also. I'm not going to go through them. This is a piece to understand how we can effectively move through a meeting. And at your leisure, if you would read that and bring yourself up to date on it. I did have a request to make this statement at the front of our meeting. Welcome to our meeting. Actually make the statement, and then this was developed to comply with that statement. Welcome to our meeting. Before we begin, it was suggested that when we introduce ourselves, that we share our names and personal pronouns. For those who haven't done this before, this is a way that we can avoid assumptions, particularly about gender. What may seem obvious may actually be incorrect, and please keep in mind that while many people associate he or she as meaning men or women, respectively, that isn't always the case. This is not about sharing your gender or private information. That is not what I'm asking for. I'm only asking for pronouns that you want to be referred to by, because these are part of the English language and how we typically refer to people. Some people go by they and them pronouns, and another set of pronouns or another way of being referred to. However, most people either go by she and her pronouns or he and him pronouns. They would simply say, "Hi, I'm Lisa, and I go by she pronouns, she, her, and hers." Or, "I'm Henry, and I go by he, him, and his." If you don't understand what I'm asking, or if you feel that you are uncomfortable sharing or unable to participate in a respectful way, it's okay to just share your name. But if you feel comfortable to share, and you know that typically you go by a certain set of pronouns and are good with that, let us know. Please also keep in mind that what people in this room share today is just what people are sharing today in this space and time, and that people may change their names or pronouns or go by different ones in another space. Does anyone have any questions before we begin introductions? We'll go around this way. My name is Gordon Clay. I'm the chair of the Suicide Awareness and Prevention Council, and I go by they, them, and theirs.
My name is Alicia with King Crone. I am with the juvenile department. I am a victim advocate and prevention specialist, and I go by she, her, hers.
My name is Beth Parker Hidalgo. I am the United Way Community Impact Manager and the Director of the Create Homeless Coalition. My pronouns are she, hers.
I'm Connie Hunter, and together with veterans, working with them lately, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers.
I'm Rhonda Groff. I'm a volunteer at the Czech Activity Center, also known as the Senior Center in Perkins, and I go by she and her.
I'm Catlin Temple. I'm the Assistant Director of the Checker Community Public Library, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers.
Shalom, Shukushi, Katrina. Hello, my name is Katrina. I'm Chituki, enrolled at Smith River Hollow Dating Nation, or I guess I'm an AJ. And I'm just representing the tribal community.
I'm Kelly Shalom, I'm with Bicoastal Media in Crescent City, and I go by she or her.
I'm Michelle Hanna, Social Determinant of Health Manager at Coast Community Health, and I go by she, her, and hers.
I'm Nancy Torney, I'm the Intensive Services Supervisor for Mental Health at Curry Community Health, and the CIT Coordinator for Curry County. I use the pronouns she, her, hers.
Tim Wilson, Superintendent of the Central Curry School District here in Gold Beach. I go by he, him, and his.
Or Boyce, Curry County Commissioner, and yeah, he'll do fine.
And I'm Dr. Teresa Costa, and I'm the owner-operator of Costa Clinical Psychology in Brookings, and I'm also a certified clinical trauma professional, and I go by she, her, and hers.
And Will.
Hi everyone, I'm Will Watson. I'm the VA Suicide Prevention Coordinator for the Coastal Counties, and I go by he, him, and his.
Hello, I'm Britt Ivy Boyce, and I go by she. It's fine with me, and I'm just here to give a presentation about some media on the agenda.
Carl.
Well, I'm just filming, and I try not to participate in these because we're just here to record, but I will tell you, some of you speak so softly that you can't rely upon my catching what you're saying on my recording. We have 3 microphones that are there. They're tied into the library system. The library staff has tested them. They work. And I would request, if you want my recording to be an accurate, complete recording of your discussion, you need to use them.
Thanks, Carl.
Will Lawson.
I will.
Is this a pickup? Is this being heard?
Have you turned it on?
I can hear you.
I can hear you, Carl.
Good work.
Can you?
Proceed.
Okay.
If I could just say something too, the other thing that does is it lessens, there might be people in the room that are hearing impaired and would rather not self-identify. So if we're using the mics, then everybody can hear adequately as well as we pick up on the recording.
Great, thank you. I'm a man, so multitasking is an issue. A couple of things before we get into this. I would like people to, if and when they want to speak, to raise their hand and look at me. If you raise your hand and you don't look at me, I can never acknowledge you. And I was watching people last time, and I was looking while they were watching the speaker. So just look at me until I acknowledge you. I'll write your name down, and then you can put your name down or hand down and relax. I guess the next agenda item is confirming that we have 9 people, so we do have a quorum, that we approve the minutes, and these were sent out in advance, but if you needed to go through them, do it quickly. Do I need anybody that needs to review anything before approval? Do I have a motion to approve? Kelly. Second.
I'll second. Second.
All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Passes unanimously. Do we have anyone to make a public comment? You have 3 minutes. Would anybody like to speak? Whatever they, yeah. Okay. I'd like to introduce Rick Boyce, and I guarantee you, when I sent this in, it said TV PSA project, not IV project. So somewhere in the translation, it came out a little differently, and this is not an IV situation.
It says TV.
It says TV.
Oh, on the one,
Yeah, money project.
the one that you got handed, the one that is in your packet.
Says I.
Yeah, I just picked up these at the office. They got corrected settlement. The one in your packet says IV, and the one that you got separately apparently says TV. So that is Britt.
Good evening, I am Mrs. Britt Ivy Boyce. It's a privilege to be here this evening. I'm just going to take maybe 3 minutes and brief you on a proposal that would involve your participation in a PSA project. So I'm going to hand you each, well actually you can just pass these down and then I'm not parading around the room. One moment. Pass those on down.
Sure. Here, let me take it.
Find it.
Wonderful. So what we have here is the opportunity to create a public service announcement about this fantastic committee. And I have provided a sheet that basically is just asking for your name, yes or no if you want to participate. Of course, I'd love everyone to participate, but there's no pressure. And this would consist of maybe 15 to 30 seconds of you sharing. Generally, I ask the camera, very similar to Carl's camera, would be set up, and I would ask some questions. Generally, I can ask, what brought you to the Suicide Prevention Council? So if I didn't have any feedback, I would probably start with a question such as that. And each person would have, say, a minute to share a story, more if you need it, and then we would cut that down, or if you request we don't cut it down, just share a story about why you're here, why you're passionate about it. So I put a few example questions on the form I just handed out. The first is, what is your inspiration for serving on the council? Number 2, I asked about a brief personal story on how suicide has touched your life. Number 3, share hopes for positive outcomes as a result of this council's efforts. Number 4, and I just noticed a typo here, the role of bullying in suicide. Possibly number 5 could be comments on the Suicide's Dream Team that Gordon has put together here to end this epidemic. And 6, an idea would be to speak about suicide as it pertains to your particular committee. So each of you have your own area of expertise. So if you would just hand this in with your name, if you choose to participate or not, and of course, if we get to the day and you decide, yes, I'd like to participate, and you would check no, you're very welcome to participate. Or if you decide, I'd rather not, or I'm sick, or whatever the case may be, either way is fine. We just want to open it up to anyone. And of course, we have not picked a date yet. At the bottom, if you have any suggestions for a question that you would like posed to you, I am open to hearing any suggestions. Would appreciate any thoughts or ideas you have at the bottom of that there. And more will be revealed at a later time as far as a date when this will happen. Probably before or after a meeting, so there's not an extra special place to go and another meeting to attend, since we're all so busy. Personally, my cousin died on a motorcycle, and after a very intense weekend of too much indulging in teenage things, and got on a motorcycle. Unfortunately, he passed away at a very young age. And some people call that, or addictions, slow suicide. There are all sorts of different ways to get to suicide, as you're aware. So at any rate, I just figured, since I'm asking you all personal questions, that I would reveal something about myself. And thank you so much for your service. And if you would just take a moment, fill these out, and pass them up to Gordon, that would be much appreciated. Thank you so much.
Does anybody have any questions?
Yes.
Go.
Forgive me for not knowing exactly your role, but where will these go? Where will these be airing?
Well, this will air, it would start here in Curry County, with the hopes of each county's television station, them airing it throughout the state.
So you have a television station here?
The 182 channel is the one that we would first submit that to. I've also spoken to Jackson County and Josephine County.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
The government channel on cable.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth.
Sure, no problem.
Anybody else?
Still look, uncertain.
So be sure and put your name on it and check yes or no. And why don't you pass them in to our secretary?
Okay, that's me.
Beautiful. Thanks for the opportunity to speak with you.
Our first official invited guest. Just pass them down this way when you're through. And I'd like you all to join me out here in the circle. Or in this U-shaped. And I'd like 6 people, 7, 8 people on each side. So go here. We got 7, 6. Okay, we're missing 2. Okay, I will be here. Okay, everybody come up to this pole and stick one finger and curl it a little bit.
Did you clean it first?
Yeah. It hasn't been fishy. So just pull, do your finger in a little curl so that, let's see, okay, right hand here, and where was that?
Sorry.
That side do left hand and this side do right. So we're all looking at the same direction. Okay, so level it up. So we've got it as level as possible. There's a little curl down there at the end. Let it down a little bit. Tim?
Yes. I see a low right there.
level is off, okay? So we see that that end with no fingers on it is, take your fingers off for a moment. See where the level is, okay? So we've got to watch this so that we're all lowering the bar at the same time level. This is called team. So start relaxing. And letting it go all the way. Don't curl your finger, don't lock it in. Just let it relax.
Go down, we're going up.
So let it slowly go down. And we're going all the way to the floor.
So that, you gotta put your end down so we can.
Are we allowed to tap each other?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that we should have a meter that counts us down and do this.
All right, so we're going to go on the count of, we're going to take five counts to go down. So at 3, we'll be down to a knee. Okay? So we're going to go on 5, and then for 3, we'll be at knee. All right, here we go.
And just watch it level. Keep it level to get there.
Everybody's ready? 5, 4, how come we're not moving? 5, 4, 3, we should be at knee level.
Don't make me get down.
Those of you that, so,
God.
yeah, so those of you that aren't so comfortable, drop out, we'll have to finish. All right? All right, so we're going to do, we'll start with 3 and go down to 2.
Watch the whole line. Watch the line. Keep it level.
We're waiting for the bass to go.
The base has to come down.
Bass hit the lead. Okay, bass is doing well. Middle, we need to, here we go. Good, can we go down? People feel comfortable going any farther? All right, let's try to go down half that much.
It's like way over there.
All right, let's go down half as much. All right, here we go. Bass,
Very good.
very down. All right, keep going, keep going. Keep going down. That's pretty good. Can we go down another 6 inches?
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Oh, that was nice there.
Okay, is everybody comfortable? All right, let's go down half again.
You're a school teacher, aren't you?
Yeah. Let's see, the next move is going to be as low as we can without touching the floor.
You can go further than that.
Yeah, I think we can.
Yeah?
Everybody's finger will just be underneath it on the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll be good.
All right. Should we try to go back up?
I got it.
One of our members had asked me to do a team building, and I didn't get any recommendations. And that's the only one I know after doing 4 years of teamwork stuff. I've used that in every workshop for 19 years.
Well, it's a tried and true.
It is. It's really good. The next item is one of the things that I asked last time was if there were any things that we saw in 2018 in any of your different stakeholder groups that might have benefited the lowering of suicide rates in Curry County. And we did come up with the one that was the crisis team. And did anybody get in touch with anything else that might have really, even in a little way, influenced that reduction that we possibly may be looking at for the future and emphasizing that in the development of our programs? Yes.
I think your outreach has made a big difference because I see your cards and your buttons and your pins just all over the county everywhere I go. So I think that made a big impact.
Thank you.
I'm going to second that. I actually heard verbally that your presence, even in Port Orford, has grown so much with the media, that people are talking about it, and they know what "Are you okay?" means, and they even know what the question mark means. So they even know what the question mark is about as well, because you can put that through. So people are paying attention.
Reminder, we got a mic on each table. We've got a mic on each table. Is that picked up? I can't tell. I didn't turn it off. Anyone else? Yes, Connie?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I saw you first.
I called me first, okay. One of the things that I really noticed was that we have a consistency of messaging from the public policy level to the ground level, to the boots on the ground. That's a large part because of your public awareness, but also the policies of our county has changed. You know, when I first started speaking about veteran suicide, I literally had a county commissioner leave and say, everybody knows somebody in Curry County who's a veteran that's committed suicide. That's not the way that the public policy approach is at the city councils or at the board of commissioners anymore. The narrative has been changed. Also, I'd like to say in 2018, one thing that I feel contributed to improving things for veterans was we did our veterans, the VA Healthcare Summit 2.0, and we had a lot of information, including Gordon speaking about suicide. So I think our messaging across the board has improved. Our lack of fear about talking about not only suicide prevention, but behavioral health. So some severe stigma busting has taken place.
Kelly?
I was just going to say that just joining this group has made me think more in depth about suicide and how it has affected so many different people in so many different ways. And I would say, because I'm new to this, even though I've had the experience that I shared with you, in 2018 is when my son's best friend in the Army committed suicide. And since then, what I've learned is it's very rampant in the military. And I believe that in the past year that the military has started to pay more attention. And I would like to do more work to hold them more accountable, to do more than just pay attention. But I feel like it wasn't talked about as much prior to 2018 as it has been in the last year and a half to 2 years. And then one other thing, sorry. I was in a meeting this morning with a pastor from a church, and he's involved with the Homeless Coalition in Delaware County. And he said something that I really thought about all day, and I think maybe this would be the time to share it, but he said that they had some training recently, and it made everybody change their perspective about why homeless people might choose to commit suicide. And it's that they really only pay attention to the first 24 hours, like getting through 24 hours. They don't think about what their actions today will mean to their family or to anybody else a week from now. So if we can get into the mindset, how do we help them get through 24 hours more effectively? And then after the 24 hours, then your next goal is to get them through 48 hours, and then a week, and then keep giving them reasons that continue to have hope, that the hope is that then they will make better choices for their future. So that was just something that really hit home with me today.
Thank you. Connie, would you take a couple of minutes and just share, because I think Kelly might want to be involved with it, and other people here in the group might want to be involved with what we went through on Saturday.
Quickly, Curry County, okay, there are 3,007 counties in the United States. And the Office of Rural Health Care, the VA's Office of Rural Health Care, has a special program called Together with Veterans. They had one cohort previously last year started where 7 counties participated in that cohort. And the second cohort, we're being asked to participate. And they actually bring resources to the rural areas that would be hard for us to come up with ourselves. And it's a 3-year program. The VA provides, and I have all the information in the batch, Kelly, so...
Is that what you sent us on the email?
Yes, but I have more back there, and I'll share that with you. So the important thing is that they bring resources, and they have a structure to their program for suicide prevention, but it has to be implemented and customized by the issues here. The boots on the ground make the decisions on how to address the problems. It's kind of like a menu. There are a lot of ways to address suicide prevention, specifically among veterans and the military, but how does that change from place to place? Here we have a different set of circumstances that make it complex to deal with the problem. The VA finally came to its senses and said, hey, we are not a one-size-fits-all organization, so we have to have, and one of my biggest complaints...
Connie, would you just hear, what are they asking of us? What are they asking?
Oh, to put together a team and a work group of people to actually do a plan, to come up with goals and objectives, and over a 3-year period implement that plan of suicide prevention. $40,000 budget for 2 years, third year $20,000 budget, but about $100,000 in kind program support. So it's saying, we don't know exactly what to do there, but we have some good ideas. Can you help us fine tune it and implement it in your town or in your county? And to be chosen to be a part of the second cohort was amazing. But there's a lot of good information, and I will gladly meet with you one-on-one, Kelly, because I think this is one good in-depth information to get out to the community. And for anybody that's here, there's plenty of information back there that describes the program, and it actually lays out a template of how to address those issues and the steps and the stages to get that done.
So basically, we're wanting to get as many veterans involved. It's got to be a high level of veterans. This isn't the VA coming in and doing the work. If the vets don't want it, it's not going to happen. And we are one of 10 counties or something in the country that got picked out. They see that we've got an issue here, and we can be very beneficial to the VA for that.
And I want to say one thing, not to interrupt you, Gordon, but it came down to Coos and Curry County. And I'm going to be honest, I'm going to out you a little bit. Is that okay? Will Lawson was the person that said to the Oregon Health Authority, Emily Watson, who was really the person who was making the decision for Curry County, for the state of Oregon. And if it had not been for Will having confidence in Curry County, from what he's seen and participated, we wouldn't have this. So Will did the evaluation, saw who we were, got to know us, and has participated and engaged us to the point where he trusts us to go forward with this. And I think we need to say that.
I was just going to add, in 2018, with Gordon's assistance in getting some grant funding from All Care and another medical group, I can't recall their name at this point, but he was made it available to my students at Gold Beach High School to take a 4-hour course in suicide prevention and intervention. It was called Respond. So our students went through that and had a refresher about a year later. He also helped promote the pop-ups on kids' cell phones that had the semicolon on them, and he gave away to all middle and high school students in Gold Beach. And I know those programs were offered to the other 2 high schools in the county, but I'm not sure if they had the opportunity to promote it. But kids still have the pop-ups on their phone, and that's almost 2 years later.
Thank you. Anybody else? Well, thank you. That's some new info. Carl?
Hope everyone noticed how close Tim held the microphone to his mouth. It's necessary. Connie was just as loud on my camera without it as she was with it. You got to hold it close to your mouth.
Thank you, Carl.
Thank you, Carl. 7B, let's talk about lived experience. And what this basically is, and I talked about it a little bit last month, is to get the message out, break this silence, and start talking about our individual experiences. And part of that is to join me. It's supposed to be on the first of the month, the first BOC, Board of Commissioners meeting, to present your 3-minute deal on your lived experience. And I put a document in here to give you an idea of the monthly event calendar. Here are things that are happening each month that we could pick one of those and make that our topic, and then have one person not necessarily talking about that issue, but talking about their lived experience in suicide attempts or prevention. This month is self-awareness or self-injury month. And there has been a document that I put in here. After telling her story, this went to the newspapers here. In fact, the Pilot had it in their newspaper last week. I haven't seen it in Del Norte, or I expect it maybe in the Reporter today. But a story about waking people up to self-injury, and particularly with our students. I've talked to the therapists that work with the kids here. We've got an amazing number of kids that are self-injuring, and the numbers say boys do it as much as girls. They don't do cutting, and that's why all the attention has been on cutting. They do pounding walls, hitting themselves, burning themselves with cigarettes, that kind of stuff. And the concern is that it doesn't lead to suicide in the majority of cases, but self-injury is difficult to intervene with and get it out of a person's system, and they need to know, they need to really want that. And the problem comes if they really are hooked into it and it develops for a long time, because the research says that those people that are hooked into it, 70% of them will attempt suicide. So this went out, and the proclamations went out to the county, which it will be addressed, I believe, at the next, the 18th meeting, the proclamation.
Yes.
And if somebody, and this is a request, if somebody has had an issue with self-injury and would be willing to speak out about that at the commissioners meeting, a 3-minute intro like Boyd does a thing court does a thing at the beginning of every meeting on police and soldier deaths. And this is one thing that we want to introduce almost on a monthly basis to get people to talk about suicide and the different aspects of it. So if there's anybody that would be willing to speak on the 18th, up at the commissioners' meeting at 9 a.m. on that issue or suicide in general, but I'm just thinking the opportunity for self-injury, that would be an ideal thing. Yes?
May I clarify, are we telling our experience personally or our experience with encountering those issues?
Whatever works for you. It's really just explaining. If you look at the one document about telling your story, and there are a lot of ideas of different ways that can go, and it can be your own personal experience or your experience with somebody else. And just to get people to realize the depth that something like that goes to, and get it out in public. Is that interesting?
Yes.
Anybody else? Thank you.
Gordon?
Yes.
If I may. You know, sometimes you hear in no hurry in Curry, and sometimes that just doesn't apply. I've been going to ask you, Gordon, for 2 months, and I keep forgetting, but have we researched by chance other counties that may have the awareness and the effort that we began here? Are you aware?
Yes.
And Josephine Coos, and does anybody know? And I'll tell you why I'm asking.
Yeah.
If not, or to the extent...
Washington, I know. There's a coalition of 4 counties up there.
All right. This group that's assembled here, sometimes the no hurry concept, there is a hurry here. And with the folks that are willing, I mean, it really hit me the first meeting that we had with the quality folks, the commitment, the stories. It was really motivating to be involved, and I think that Curry County actually has a chance to lead, and so your efforts here can hopefully, and I believe will, eventually in a solid way, reach to other parts of the state and really can make a big difference. Kelly mentioned military, and you brought it up again. I read a deal not too long ago, and it was basically the spouse of a police officer. The greatest sound in the world is when they come home at night and they hear that bell crow. And they know that their sweetheart is home safe and sound. And I can't imagine, I never had to live with that. You know, I have one son that's a police officer, but that's something they live with nonstop. And then the suicide rate of police officers is growing in this country dramatically, as you know. And in addition to that, recruiting police officers throughout the U.S. of A. is getting to be a larger issue all the time. So everything we're doing here can help our culture, I think, long term, and the awareness. And yeah, that's enough for now. But thanks for letting me speak there, Gordon.
A little update on that. The
microphone.
An update on that is that we did in the 3 counties, we did the suicide awareness 16-page magazine in September of last year. And I've talked with the publisher, and we're going up to a meeting, a statewide meeting on suicide prevention that Lines for Life is putting on in Medford in October. And even going to have a table there and see if we can't convince the other 31 counties to do the same thing, because it's already prepared. All it needs to do is get the support of people putting up the money to develop it. And the second thing is the Alliance for Suicide Prevention, which is part of the state of California, or Oregon. I have been going to that, I haven't the last year, but I've been going to that for 2 years. It's a quarterly meeting up in Salem. I'm going up there on the 13th for their quarterly meeting, and we will be listed with their alliance. And that hole has been there for a long time. a lot of counties are involved in some kind of, most of them are mental health based, like the hospital is running something for the county. But there are a few that it's individuals like us that are doing the work. Boots on the floor, on the ground. Yes, Beth?
So I'm not sure that this is directly relevant, but I just wanted to share with everybody, right before I left to come to this meeting, I got an email from Bevan Hansel, who is one of our transformation innovators from Oregon Health Authority, assigned to the All Care Community Advisory Council. And she sent out the opioid dashboard. Many of you might have looked at that before and looked at some of the data that the state of Oregon has been collecting about opioid use, whether it's prescription or illicit drugs. To get back to somebody's comment regarding slow suicide, Britt, I think, talking about people who have substance use disorder, I was disturbed to see that our county shows zero data for hospital overdose. And I happen to know that that's not accurate. And I asked Bevan to please explain to me why we're not hitting, why aren't we showing any data in Curry County for hospital overdoses, because I'm almost positive that we have had overdoses in our hospital. And I don't know if there's a trigger we need to hit before they start counting our data. And I just bring that up because I think that maybe a look across the board at data collection in Curry as to how it might, whether it's directly related or maybe a side to this topic of suicide prevention. Maybe we should take a dive into what data collection is going on for our county and make sure that it really is accurately reflecting what our issues are in our county, because that's how when you show a demand for services, that's how, you need your data to show that we have a need. And if we're not showing any data on the state dashboard, that's problematic for me. And I just thought I'd let the rest of the group know you might want to look at the Oregon opioid dashboard and just take a gander for yourself and see what kind of data is showing for Curry County, because it's very little. And I think that's a problem for us.
Got it.
Sorry.
I wanted to just interject something. One of the pieces of the work that Together with Veterans does is to collect that data. So they're going to show us a system that works for collecting data. And if you need a copy of those new opioid taper guidelines, I sat on that task force. So if you have any questions, it was about a 6-month process. I have lived experience, and so I was participated. I had to read between 2 and 4 hours a day for about 2 weeks before every task force meeting. There was so much information and so much effort that went into developing those guidelines. I have already submitted those guidelines with a request to our VA director that our VA catchment area use those guidelines, and we're sending it also to Senator Wyden and others to ask that the VA, who at one point in time, without prior notice, cut veterans' pain medicines in half throughout the system. No tapering, no prior notice, and veterans were left, and family members to deal with the veterans who had their pain meds cut. So we want that kinder, gentler attitude. And one of the things that I really appreciated was when Will came out and spoke and Commissioner Court Boyce put together a workshop that addressed the opioid crisis. And one of the things that came from that was there was an effect on veterans, and there was an effect throughout the community as a result of that. Some veterans, instead of just being able to adapt, had to they felt the need sometimes to drug seek other ways, and that was not a good predicament to put veterans in. So, Will, did you have anything you want to say about that particular
Yeah, I think the taper guidelines are crucial, as Connie was mentioning. I work the Veteran Crisis Line. Every day I handle anywhere from 5 to about 12 calls of people, veterans that are suicidal in our catchment area. And one of the chief indicators is chronic pain management and the inability to be effectively treated medically, and lack of referral resources, so on and so forth. So Connie really has hit something right on the head in terms of something to be addressing, and make sure that we're not blanketing something that we know needs to happen, a decrease in opioid prescriptions and stuff, but not blanketing. We need to treat people as individuals and use appropriate medical intervention.
Kelly?
So I was just going to follow up. So back to her statement, thank you. Back to, I'm sorry, is it Beth? Back to Beth's statement. Are you saying that there is opioid dashboard information that she's not seeing?
It's the same thing. We're talking about the same thing.
When I was looking through the dashboard, there's lots of different topics you can choose from. There are lots of different data sets that you can look at. But I wanted to look specifically at Curry County and hospital ODs. It's because the work I do with the clientele that I work with, I know that we've had ODs in our hospital, and so I was looking for that number, and it's a big goose egg. So it's happening, but we're not capturing the data, and so that's concerning to me. And I think that I don't think that's the only incident where we're lacking in data collection either. And that's critical information for our county to make good decisions on where we need to focus our energies and our efforts. So, but I just wanted to point that out, that I think we're missing the mark in some areas of data collection, and I'm not sure. I'm hoping Bevan will get back to me with why that is and what we can do perhaps to influence a change along that, you know, around the data collection. Thank you.
Anyone else? Let's just leave it on.
I'd just like to agree with Beth that there is issues with data collection, especially in the tribal community. We're coming up on the 2020 census, and we're doing actual trainings at tribes to teach people how to, you need to say your tribe, you need to say your native in order for that number to count. And it hasn't in the past, especially with suicides. The Epidemiology Center in Portland reported only 5 suicides in Curry County that were native. And they don't have access to that data because 5 is the limit to where they can get that information from the state. So we know it's more, but again, there is definite issues in reporting and collecting data.
What do you all think the issue is? Why isn't it moving forward like it should?
Michelle?
So one of the things that I've noticed running programs and trying to do data for evidence-based programs, you have to prove that you have the need. Our county births have been off for 12 years, finding out how many births actually happen in our county. And I can't tell you where the hole is, other than perhaps the changing of guards and the way, like when somebody new rolls over or a new entity takes the data collection, they start over again. They do it differently, and maybe that's the reason.
Anyone else?
I had, and I asked Bevan this question in my email to her, was that we are a critical access hospital. If somebody presents in the ER as an OD and they're not going to stay at the hospital, they get shipped out to somewhere else for whatever reason. Their treatment is going to extend that 4-day maximum stay or whatever. Maybe that has something to do. I don't know. I'm trying to give our healthcare providers an out here. I don't know if it's because of the type of hospital we have and the short stays that people typically have. I don't really know, but I'm hoping that I'll get a response back from her that I can share with you guys next time we come together, or I'll email out to on board and Teresa, and they can push it out to you guys. If they get a comprehensive response to my question, that would be nice information for all of us to have.
Anyone else?
I might just want to ask Will a couple questions later, if that's okay, Mr. Chair, just at the end or something.
Sure. Close your eyes for a minute. If you had, close your eyes, please. If you had all the money in the world, and you could do anything with it to end suicide in Curry County, what would that be? What would that look like? Dream big, because there's no limit here. Number of people, number, whatever it is. And when you've got that, open your eyes and pick up your dream journal and write it down. Put your pens down when you're complete. Be complete.
You said dream big. You said dream big.
Yeah. Well, I mean, don't put your pen down until you're complete. Pencils down. Thank you. I'm not going to ask them to be shared. They might be at some other time, but hold that in your mind. It's a possibility, because we can do amazing things, and there are amazing possibilities if we open up to the idea, just the idea of zero suicide. Just the idea of zero attempts. There are a lot of people that immediately come in, and I don't believe that. And so in their work, they're accepting that it's not a possibility. And they give up on people. And they give up on systems because they don't believe it can happen. I believe it can happen. And if you've looked at the research, there is almost every area, law enforcement, medical, behavioral, all the way down the line, we've got proven techniques to end suicide. All we have to do is get people to do it, to learn what the warning signs are. Simple things. And yes, there are some big things there. So keep that dream in mind. Keep that in as a possibility as we go looking for how we're going to do this, how we're going to make this happen in Curry County. And again, I hope it spreads like that, but I'm really interested in making it happen in Curry County. With that in mind, go to the page that says Suicide Awareness and Prevention Counseling. We have a website. It is Suicide Awareness and preventioncouncil.org. If you go to that, and it's listed here on the top of this page, you go to that and it's a portal into all of this information. And when you go to that website, you will get all, this page will come up. And it also has a lot more below it. But here are some of the categories of information that is already prepared and on the website. If you click on one of those, say, they say. I've got two they says on the website. This is the one that is specifically for the council. And this is looking at the different stakeholder groups that we have and going to look deeper in those. Now what they say is when you find an article, you can flip over to the back page, the next two pages, and you find an article or an abstract or a video or any kind of information on the web, send that to me and I will put that in your category so that you will have a reference. You can reference that and any emails you write, any stories you write, anything for people to get all that information. And a really good resource so we can build a platform here that has, oh, look at this. You know, here is the data for 2018 on suicides in Curry County and in the U.S. They just came out January 30th. It was just released. And suicides have gone up both in Oregon and the United States and Curry County from 2017. The next page is a list of statistics. It's a small list of statistics. But again, when you're writing an article or you're thinking about a proposal or something like that, here are some reference points that you can go to get adequate information. And again, we can add to this at any time. So you send it to me and it goes on. And it doesn't have to go through a webmaster. It goes to me and I can upload it in 10 seconds. So it's really, really simple. It doesn't have to go through any committees or anything like that. Just send me an email and I'll put it on. The next page is that data that I've added in 2019. Actually, I'm showing 2019 for Oregon and 2019 for Curry County. And it's the chart with all this chart. So our data for 2018 nationally went up to 2.3% or 4%. It went up for 2019 in Oregon 2.3%. And in Curry County, it went up 21%. Now, that was small numbers. We were at the lowest we've been since 2011 in 2018. And we had a total of 9 in 2019 confirmed. Or not, they're not confirmed, I'm sorry, there's an asterisk there. That is what we've got so far, and it will not be finalized data until August. So, because they clear medical and all that kind of stuff to become official data. But this is a pretty valuable chart to use in getting information. The next page is goals. And I don't know if any of you, or if you had an opportunity to read through this, I said this is what I had found in various places and developed a mission, vision, core values, purpose, and roles that I see as possibilities, and I'm really interested in feedback and take things off, add things on, correct things, change things. But this is something that we need, I see that we need to set up in what are we going to do? What in all the information and all the possibility from the 14 stakeholder groups and maybe stakeholder groups that are out there that we haven't addressed, because the county would only let me have 17 people. So anyway, I'll go to the next step and then I'll open it up. The next 2 pages are what I've gleaned from collecting the next, I'm sorry, the next 5 pages. The next 4 pages are what I've gleaned over doing this issue for a number of years and then doing a lot of research since January when the commissioners approved having such a council. I took each one of the stakeholder groups and I put down what I see as potential goals. And I've classified a little of them. The first group is council goals, long-term goals, and short-term goals. And then I've included low-hanging fruit. And then on page 4, it starts with all the individual groups. And what I see, and this is really minimal for some, education and health, and some of those I've been working on for a long time, so I've got a lot bigger awareness on what I feel is needed within those. But to me, the next steps would be to really look at what the commission or the council should set up in our values and goals. And then as we move along, each one of the stakeholder groups and talking to individuals within your category that see additional needs or see needs that can be addressed right now. The need that I saw addressing right now is to start breaking the silence And so Self-Injury Week month was this month, and I took actions to make that happen. I always do it in May for Mental Health Month, and in September for suicide, and October for bullying. And this is just another one, adding one in there. So I see that as a low-hanging fruit and took action. So, hands. Any questions? Beth?
I don't have a question, but I had emailed Gordon following our first meeting, first of all, to congratulate him for his tenacity of bringing us together. But I had a couple of suggestions for, as I understand it, I'm heading up the substance use disorder task committee, right, for this larger group. So one of the things that I'd like to talk about doing, and I don't have anybody on this task force yet, I haven't done a lot of recruitment, but I think low-hanging fruit for us is organizing a walk out of darkness here in Curry County for September, which is Suicide Awareness Month. And I don't know how many other folks around the table are familiar with this effort and event, but I'm opening it up to people who might be interested in helping me or organize something like that.
It's in there in the goal. We're, as far as, I think we need to have a purpose and a goal for the group and then add things in. It is in the action.
And the purpose that you stated was that we are talking about it and that we are being more, we're being more transparent about the issues itself. And I think that, and I understand what you're saying, that it's in here. I'm opening it up to the rest of the group if they want to participate and help me organize such an event. I would like for you to email me and let me know your willingness to help me in that. So,
thank you. Yeah, and that is fundraisers for SP. And so it is it's a document later on in action, things that we can take action on. So yes, get a hold of that. If anybody wants to move on something quickly, you can do that. Michelle.
I'd like to add specific groups that aren't being protected right now into our core values. And I don't know how or where, or I guess just in our mission, our core values and our purpose. I'd like to see the LGBTQ plus group actually put into this document as a core value because it is a group that is not protected right now and their rights keep getting smaller and smaller.
Michelle, when you say protected, like who?
By our local governments, or not by our, I guess, our federal governments at this point. The LGBTQ plus group. I just think it needs addressing specifically because of the suicide rates on that. And I would also add it into the health initiative because that is, even a separate talk with providers about specific concerns that the LGBTQ plus group experiences.
Will?
I don't know if this is working. No. Beth, I just wanted to comment real quick about the Out of Darkness walk. I had the pleasure of helping to do that last year at Curry County, and it was a phenomenal turnout. We had a huge walk, a lot of partnership agencies. It takes a long time to get it planned, especially to be done right, so let me know how I can help. And also the funds came back to Coos County last year.
Coos, because you said Curry
earlier,
so I'm sorry.
And it came back, it came back to Coos County. So there's such an opportunity, and let me know how I can help participate.
Thank you, I got your name down.
That's Coos County.
Well, and Jamar Ruff also would be another.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Beth, can you explain to everybody in this room what that is?
I bet Will could probably do a better job of that.
Yeah, the idea is-
I don't think everybody knows.
Yeah, so the Outer Darkness Walk, the idea is to create awareness and really reduce stigma that's happening around mental health and suicide. And so what happened is you're getting a coalition together, as many partnership agencies, and you're setting an event for the community to come together and participate. You get teams to drive to create fundraising as well. And when they get there, you do beautiful ceremonies with different type of bead ideas. You maybe lost a family member, you lost a friend, you get a different colored bead. So it really brings this collective community as you're talking about the topic, and then you take a nice walk together. In Coos County, we went down by the boardwalk and walked back around. It was just such a huge building experience and really brought a lot of awareness, and it also brings media, and that's really what we want. So,
Anybody else? On the LGBT emoji, I would see that under mental health. And I don't know, we can't establish another category, but I think that would fit under mental health the best. And because you're working with most of that issue in there and in education, probably. And actually what I could see it is put the goal under mental health and under education and maybe some other areas as
Legislation, government.
yeah.
I still believe it also belongs under medical too, because it is
Right.
It is a
Well, and-
different mindset. It belongs in a lot of
Well, so
I think all of those affected by suicide belong in just about every category there is.
Well, but if I understood your request, I'm trying to speak up for college, I don't want to deal with the mic, but if I understood your request, Michelle, it sounds to me like what you're asking for is that that particular group be identified in our core values as we're going to add these to our core values because we want to help, again, reduce stigma and create greater transparency around this group of people that happen to live in our community and should be, I don't know, I'm done now, but I think that's what I hear you saying.
Well, that was my suggestion, a soft recommendation. The last bullet under core values, support for individuals, families, communities, including LGBTQ+, because then it's in writing, it's one of the groups of support.
Right.
I would also add veterans as a separate, or as a group as well that we will identify.
we've got it, veterans.
Yeah, but in that same line, I guess.
Under core values.
I think she's saying, instead of just saying, we're gonna support individuals and families
Yeah.
in our community,
Okay,
she's saying she'd like more definition to what those people and families are, including LGBTQ+ and
Yeah.
veterans. And tribal.
And tribal, yes, specific groups.
yes, Teresa.
I don't know if you,
Oh.
I mean, I feel like there could be anything.
Okay,
I mean, it makes me think of children
Teresa.
too.
Oh, okay. Michelle?
It's just a group that has no rights. We don't have the same, or like the LGBTQ+ world does not have the same rights as just a regular child, or our schools set it apart. They address it separately. Actually, I don't know, I'm sort of say it this way.
I think sometimes when we make the statement of special segments within those communities, the assumption would be that everyone in the community recognizes what categories fall under special segments. And I don't believe that that's the case. They're calling out those the parts of our diverse population in Curry County, specifically, to say tribal, to say LGBTQ+, tells that group of people in our community, we care about you, we are including you in the work that we're doing. And I think that message rings loud and clear, and it needs to be. It really does.
We got it.
Yeah. Okay.
Could there be a statement to cover the special segments that, there's several very appropriate.
Encourage the microphone, because it's not going to.
I don't know if it works. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So there are several different statements that have been used that are really appropriate to make sure that we're recognizing all of the special segments, because we could be very careful not to forget a very special segment. And a lot of statements are something to the effect of, you know, to be culturally and linguistically responsible, so we could find a statement that would cover all of those areas, and that any of those individuals who identify in that way would read that statement and say, yes, I'm included, I'm part of that, and I am covered under the core values of, and the vision of, and the goals of this council, without specifically stating each one and running the risk of missing someone or missing a group that would be considered a special segment. I'm just trying to think of a way of doing that, because I, like you, was thinking of youth. I work with youth, and there might be an appearance that they have rights, but they do not in many ways, and they are underserved in many ways, and so we could probably go at this all night long and come up with lots of groups that would be considered special segments. So it's just a suggestion.
Anything, we have that recorded in the minutes. Are there anything else in vision, mission, core values, purpose, role that you want to add or change or cut out, or because this is something that is going to be etched in stone to really bring back when we have a proposal, when we have an idea, ensure that we match this, that what we come up with is covered here, that we aren't in disagreement. Michelle?
I have questions on the statement, reach out to appropriate resources to provide a health needs assessment to help identify where to focus efforts. Would that be separate from the health need assessments that we do in our county?
That is the ones that we're talking about, is getting those, advanced health and, well, they're all under one this year.
Right.
But those kind of things, getting the assessment that the VA is doing, any assessments we can get that are up-to-date current information, because we don't have a budget to go out there and do a survey, start surveying people. That'd be ideal if we could do what the VA is going to do. But if we can get a grant, I'd love to see that. And I think that may be possible.
I guess I didn't understand. I do now.
Do you see a way to write it so it's clear to the, like we were talking about, finding the words that identify if there's something already being used in the culture that might replace what's written there? Beth?
I think amongst this group right here, we probably can glean a lot of resources for those types of things. And one example is the United Way is now undergoing a youth listening session in Curry County. We will be talking with our youth about a variety of subjects, and this topic will be included in our guided listening sessions with these students. So if we just all in our workaday work is what we do, if we are willing to bring back those results and that information to this larger group, along with the community health assessments and CHIP plans and all of those other, and the veterans assessments, if we bring this information back to the group, we'll have some good responses right at our fingertips that we can rely on, some data and assessment results.
Yep, that's the whole purpose of having the stakeholders, getting that information in that category. I just envision having the elders have a little talk session, and give some topics and see what they think about those. Because you got the people there all the time for lunch. But anyway, how we can glean more information that is personal on what's going on in Curry County would be ideal. Yes?
I would take it
Mike, we got to do the mic.
I would take it one step further and ask to take this data and make sense of it for the public and not just this committee. So
Put that in the notes. That's what I do.
yeah.
Well, hopefully one day, every single month, we bring an awareness to this county about something around suicide. The opioid, how many actually are overdosing because it's suicidal. It's a choice. And getting clearer on that all the way along. Yes?
I guess I've not seen where we're promising that we'll bring that information out. I mean, our purpose.
Tell me where it ought to go.
Well, I think it should be under purpose. I mean, if part of it is to educate the public, it needs to be written in our purpose.
Okay. Do you have a recommendation? Or can you give us, at a later date, can you give us a recommendation on how to word that?
Sure.
Great. Thank you.
Can I clarify, you were saying how we would, that part of our purpose should be to disseminate this information to the public in a way they can understand?
Yes.
Any other thoughts on any of this mission's purpose? Yes? Go.
I was just thinking, which I tend to do out loud sometimes, when you said that this was going to be etched in stone, I personally think that because this is new and we're all learning together, that it should be a document that can be changed and updated and better as we all learn together.
That was metaphorical.
Okay, great. I got that in the minutes, right?
Get that in the minutes.
She's way ahead of us all.
Yeah, she is. What I would ask is that between now and our April meeting, that you peruse this very clearly, and so at the April meeting, unless we want to approve it today, at the April meeting, come back with the goal of finalizing this and approving it. Then we go to the next 4 pages. And this isn't something that we're going to have time to do today, but we really, each one of the stakeholder groups, I want you to look at this and see how that looks for your stakeholder group. Is it inclusive of everything you're talking about, of your section needs or talking about? And also I have given you a chart that you can fill the information in for other groups. If you've got an idea for you and you say, oh, this would be perfect in our stakeholder group, add those in. Because I've accumulated a lot of stuff here. And I've accumulated a lot of stuff that could be low-hanging fruit. things that we can immediately make an impact on in our community. But we also want to have a longer-term goal of things we want to accomplish this year. And then the great goal of in 2021 and beyond, what do we need to do to get to 0 attempts? Kelly?
I just wanted to share, because mental health awareness is right around the corner in May, that in Delaware County, our mental health department has funding to educate during the month of May. And what I did with them over the past 2 years was work on messaging to the community to remove the stigma about mental health. But the cool thing that we did was that we did the messages in English, Spanish, and Hmong, which was not easy. But it was really helped to be all-inclusive for our community. And so that might be something that you think about moving forward, is when you do create your messaging to include other languages to help affect all cultures. And now I was just thinking maybe we could get it done in Tolowa as well. We have, we do a book reading for children on the radio, and we have, sometimes the Tala will come in and they'll read it in Spanish and English, or Tolowa in English, and it's really cool.
Do we have a resource that shows what our cultural population is as far as other languages?
So I'll speak up. I was in another, I think it was a CHIP steering meeting, we were having a discussion around limited English population, or proficiency, sorry, LEP, limited English proficiency. And unless your county hits that 1,000 mark for speakers of a language other than English, there's no trigger for you to have to provide resource material in other languages. So, of course, in Curry County, we don't meet that trigger in any language other than English. And so I've asked Oregon Health Authority in particular to revisit those triggers and maybe fashion a trigger for rural Oregon communities that is more in alignment with our total population. So if we have a percentage of our total population to speak another language other than English, that we then are required to produce subject matter material in that language. Because we're missing a lot of folks in our community that are not proficient English speakers as a result of that threshold being so high. We do get, like our OHP applications, we get in Spanish. That's the only other language that we get those in. And so if we had someone come in to our office, thankfully we do have this laminated, colorful document at our reception desk that has every possible language you can think of, front and back. And there's an 800 number. Somebody can point to the language that they speak, and you can call that 800 number and they can use the translation service. I don't know that everybody in every office in the county has that kind of a resource. I'd be willing to share it. But because we're, there are triggers for those kinds of culturally sensitive initiatives are so high, because they're set in Portland and they're set in Salem, and there's not a lot of consideration for the fact that we're not going to ever hit those triggers here, which means that we're not going to lean forward necessarily and provide alternative languages for our community, and we should push for that.
Yeah, I understand the county has an app that translates, I believe. If you have a meeting, and it's one of the things that I looked into, what we have to serve somebody, we want to serve somebody that needs translation and that kind of thing. And it's part of being open meeting law. And so we can do that, and we've got the opportunity with the county to do that. It's never been done before, but at least they've got and John was telling me there's an app to do that. But the piece I would take off of this is I think it's a good thing to look at the things that we put together in the community that are dual language, if we can find the person that can do really good translation for donation. Kelly?
I was just going to say that sometimes there's opportunities for you to just make the choice to provide it in a different language. And the way that I did it is I brought people in that spoke the language. There are also funds. Sometimes the Tolowa Dating Nation has funds to provide that message in their language. And so you might think kind of in that way when you're looking at how do you access some piece of information that you can provide in a different language.
Just to add to that, the tribal numbers in Curry County is a little bit difficult to get an accurate count on because we have California tribes involved. And so when you're getting Oregon numbers, you're going to get Oregon tribes but in fact we have a lot of California tribal numbers here, so it's a little bit difficult to get those numbers. But one thing that I'm trying to implement to help put a better number on that is working with the food bank and helping them, suggesting that they ask when people come in for services so that we can kind of at least track how many tribal members might be accessing those services. So it's a small step, but it's a difficult thing to get an accurate number on.
Is there a uniform language that we would look at in Curry County? Tribal.
So it's Athabascan language is what is spoken along the West Coast. There are several variations of that. Tututni, Tolowa, Chinook, there's several variations along the West Coast here. There's not just one.
But for Curry? Would there be still three?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Probably the biggest resource would be the Siletz language, which is part Tututni. They have probably the biggest demographic here of that particular language.
Great. Great idea.
And also, they're the biggest tribe in Oregon, and they would definitely have resources to meet that need.
Good idea. Anything else at this point? We'll move to a quick one just on needs assessment, pointing it out. This is something, again, in looking at your goals. What are the basic needs within your category to put on the sheet? The next category is new business, and is there anything for the good of the order that ought to be addressed? Beth?
I've got several folks in the room that I know that can help me with identification of the unaccompanied youth or opportunity youth, age range 16 to 24, for those youth listening sessions. So I'm asking the group to, if you work with young people and they are willing to participate in listening sessions in South, Central, and North Curry, please get in touch with me. Please send me their contact information so I can start organizing these listening sessions. We really want a diverse group, as diverse as possible, so I could use some help with that if you guys can help me out. Thanks.
Thank you. Kelly?
I was just going to say that if any of your organizations have the need for a public service announcement, please send it to me. Connie has been good about sending me information, and Beth is going to send me a few things about what she's trying to accomplish. But if you have an event or something that meets the criteria of a PSA, then please just email it to me, and I can try to help with that.
Can we do anything with the self-injury? Because the county, the city, and the school district is, the
Yes.
city's already done the proclamation.
Yes.
Okay.
All I need is kind of like the who, what, where, when, and why. You just send that information
I did
to
send
me
it to you,
and,
didn't I?
pardon me,
I did send it to you, didn't I?
a PSA?
Yeah. Well, I didn't write the PSA. You asked for the information on self-injury and the proclamation. If not, I'll send you a copy. I thought I sent it to you.
Oh, in the information you sent us like last week?
You had asked me for
Sorry.
the information, and what I thought I sent was it's in your packet, actually.
Uh-huh. I saw the proclamation.
The proclamation and the story there, both. So
Okay.
that's what I've got, and it'd be great to let the people know that the city, the county, and the school district has adopted the proclamation.
Okay, thank you.
Michelle?
Beth, what are your dates rolling out on the identification of the unaccompanied?
I don't have any dates set right now. There are no dates set. We're just in the beginning of outreach in this project, so. But clearly we'd like to get it done before the end of this school year, if possible. That's a goal, before everybody runs off to go to vacation or work or college. Yeah.
Great. Next item. Does anybody have any criticism or self-criticism of their own actions or that they want to address? Come. Microphone.
Down that way. I'll self-crit for not being fast enough to get in under the new business. I wanted to let everybody know that there's some information at the back of the room. I like to share resources. One of the things that we find is there are a lot of resources out there that people don't know about. So when I was holding up the flag today, it's called Pause Assisting Veterans, and there are plenty of these in the back, I think, for you to pick one up. But if veterans need service dogs, they provide these service dogs for free. So that's a resource. And then also, the state of Oregon has a Veterans Emergency Financial Assistance Program. A lot of people don't know about that. There are a number of applications there, but you can go on the ODVA website. So if you hear of a veteran who's having emergency financial issues, this might be a place to go. Now, sometimes a veteran will go directly to the County Veteran Service Officer. Our CVSO has been, was out for a period of time, so I printed out a number of these and shared these as the needs came up. But if you have that or access to that and you hear of a veteran with a financial need, you can send them to the ODVA, Oregon Department of Veterans Affairs website, or California will have something also, Kelly. So, but there are applications here if you just want to keep one around, and if you hear of a veteran that's in need, then share that information. Thank you.
Caitlin.
Just for the good of the order, my name's pronounced Catlin. I just wanted to make everybody aware of that. That's okay. Cat, if it's easier. But a little self-criticism for myself. I tend to be very, very shy, and it's hard for me to immediately speak up. But one thing, in veins of getting PSAs out, not just on the television, but on the radio as well, I like it when there is like a unified messaging going out. And I just wanted to let everybody know too, on my end, I volunteer for KCIW, and it is one of the more volunteer-based ones, but if there are any PSAs that you want to distribute to Kelly, you can send them to me as well, and I can make sure they get on the air. So I just want to let people know.
Thank you.
Thanks, Pat.
Next, 10A. The next meeting is going to be on April 1st. And it might be an opportunity to have a little bit of fun. We'll just see what happens. What I ask, is there any particular agenda items besides the goals for the group and the individual goals for the stakeholder group that you think would be important to have on that agenda? Kelly?
I was just going to say that I feel like everybody in this room is extremely busy and wearing many hats. And so I guess my self-critique, now that I'm talking out loud, is that I don't feel like I've taken a lot of time to sit down and really work through my plan here. And that maybe we might have 20 or 30 minutes in the next meeting where 2 or 3 of us each get together and actually sit down and talk about our stakeholders group and get some, like, do a little roundtable discussion to kind of get things moving and going and get other people's input, because what I might think of in media might be totally different than how you guys see media being a part of this. And I think that might be helpful for me. I don't know about anybody else.
Ditto. You see the way that works? I mean, which stakeholders would work best together, or just have it open?
I think just 2 or 3 people, yeah, just pick a couple people and everybody can sit down and have just a smaller discussion and work through some of the thoughts that everybody's having about their particular stakeholder group.
Michelle?
We can also put up a parking lot next to whatever group, you are. We can have all our groups up on the wall, and if you're not part of assessing that group or, doing the teamwork on that group, you can add to other people's groups.
That's a good idea.
That way,
What can we put on the walls
We've done giant notepads that have putting sticky notes on the walls and things like that. Just as long as you don't stick them on paintings, we're happy. We can bring out a whiteboard.
So, and the next meeting will be at the Chetco Library in Brookings. So, anything else? I think that's good.
I wouldn't mind also bringing a snack for everybody. I know I have to leave Crescent City at 4:30 to get here, and then I won't get home until almost 9 o'clock at night. And so, so maybe, I don't know how everybody else does, but you're running to this meeting and then not eating until 8 or 9 o'clock at night. I wouldn't mind bringing a snack.
Do I hear any objections?
Any allergies or? Okay.
With that, I'll adjourn at 7:30.